All right, everybody. Thank you again for coming. This is Mr. Zawacki, and today what we're going to be talking about is what to expect with your Module 2 DBA. It is coming up for biology, also for anatomy next week as well. We'll be going over all of that today. All right, so first of all, this was lesson 201 for biology. And this is what I'm going to talk about in the DBA with properties of water. You should be able to know these 7 different properties of water. Specifically, you should be able to talk about at least 2 or 3 of them. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you the explanation, and you have to tell me which one of the 7 that it is. So your answer will be one of those 7. So first of all, which one is water being able to stick to other substances? Which one is that? Water sticking to other substances. Yep. Good job. For those of you putting adhesion, that's correct. That's water sticking to other substances. Which one is where ice floats? Which one talks about that ice floats? Why does ice float? Yep. That will be the density. It's actually greatest density at 4 degrees Celsius, which means cold water is more dense than ice. Ice will actually float. That's a weird property of water, but also true. Which one explains that water has a positive and a negative end? Positive towards the hydrogens, negative towards the oxygen. Which one is that property? Good job, Emma, Ciara, yeah, Francesca, good job. Polar molecule just simply means water is H2O. There's 2 H's, here's an O. The H's are positive and the O is negative. Which one remaining means that water can break down in different substances like salt or sugar? When water breaks down different things like salt or sugar, yep, that means it's a universal solvent. Water can definitely dissolve many different chemicals or compounds for sure. Which one means water sticks to itself? Which one water sticks to itself? Great job. That'll be cohesion. For those of you writing that, yep. Good job, everybody. And then these last 2, not to be confused of it, but which one, you can just write either specific heat or vaporization. Which one refers to it takes a lot of energy to boil water? Which one do you think that is? It takes a lot of energy to boil water. We got mixed ones here. Well, when you vaporize something, you turn it into another type of material. So boiling water, that's high heat of vaporization. Specific heat just means, it's really close, it just means to change the temperature by 1 degree. So either way, water has a high specific heat, which means it takes a lot of energy to change the temperature 1 degree. And it has a high heat of vaporization, which means it takes a lot of energy to boil water as well, compared to other liquids. So just be able to know all those, but you should be able to talk about at least 2 or 3 of those for the DBA. Okay, microscopes, technology, that was kind of in 202. Can anybody tell me the name of this microscope right here on the left? Does anybody know the name of that microscope? It's very common. You probably used it before. Does anybody know the correct name of it, though? Good try, Emma. It's not dissecting. It's not ocular. There you go, Danielle, Joshua, Francesca. Yep. This is a compound light. So compound light. You guys have probably used that one before. So just be aware that that's the compound light microscope. Which one is on the right? This is a little bit trickier. Found only in scientific labs. It is an electron microscope. Good. Does anybody know what type of electron? Is it a scanning or dissecting electron microscope? That it is an electron. Yep, Nina, you got it. It's a scanning. Emma, good job. This is a scanning electron microscope, SEM. They call that for short. Compound light is just CL. So now I'm going to ask you some questions about these two. Just put either CL for compound light or SEM for scanning electron microscope. So first of all, we already know that the compound light is most common, but which one is more powerful? Which one is more powerful? Good job for those of you who are participating. Yep, it is the scanning electron microscope. Good job. It's definitely more powerful. Which one can see a living, moving specimen as long as it's small enough? It's either compound light or a scanning electron microscope. So it's either CL or SEM. Very good. This one right here, the compound light, can see living specimens. It only uses light as the power source, so you can see things without harming them. The SEM, as you can see here in this picture, it has to be dead and prepared in gold in order to see it in like a 3D black and white image, for sure. So they already have to be dead before they're in the scanning electron microscope. So good job there. You may see some questions about those two on the DBA as well. Then we got into 203 about prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. When you think of prokaryotic cells, think of like very small things on Earth like bacteria. Okay? When you think of a eukaryotic cell, you want to think of multi-cell things like plants or animals. Very good. Also fungus, too. Fungus is all eukaryotic cells as well. Okay, so good job there. So when you think of a prokaryotic cell, you want to think single-cell organisms, small, simple, like a bacteria. Look, it just has a cell membrane, some DNA, some ribosomes, and that's about it. It's not a whole lot. They use a flagella or cilia to move, but that's about it. With a eukaryotic cell, like fungus, plants, animals, you're going to see many more organelles. It's bigger. It has many more things inside of it, like a smoothie R, a Golgi, rough ER. It has a mitochondria, vacuoles, lysosomes, a nucleus with the nucleolus in the middle. So as you can see, it's much bigger. There's more stuff to it. That's fungus, plant, and animal cells. Whereas the prokaryotic cell, they think this was the first type of cell on Earth also, and that's more or less just bacteria for single cell. So also in 203, you got into different organelles. It's very important to know most of these organelles in terms of what they look like and what they do. So first of all, we know the nucleolus. That's the center of the nucleus. Contains where ribosomes and also some protein is made too. The smooth ER does not have ribosomes on it, but the rough ER does. So the rough ER looks like just like smooth ER, but with ribosomes on it. Rough ER makes protein, smooth ER makes lipids. Here are your ribosomes. They're the smallest organelle. They look like little dots all over the place. They make protein, just like the rough ER. Cytosol or cytoplasm, that's the same thing. That's just the space inside the cell. Lysosome is the stomach of the cell. Mitochondria is the organelle that's used to for cellular respiration. It looks like a peanut. That's used to make energy during cellular respiration. We already went over the nucleus. That's just the brain or control center of the cell. And the plasma membrane or cell membrane, that's the same thing. That just helps the boundary or protects the outside surface of the cell. And then remember the Golgi apparatus, that's like your FedEx or UPS, this green thing here. It'll package and distribute things in and out of the cell. Now there are other things here. Microvilli to help movement, centrioles that help during like mitosis when cells split apart, microfilaments, microtubules, peroxisomes. These are other parts of the cell, but I don't think you're going to see them on the test. So the ones that I circled are the ones that I know you're going to see on the test for sure. So I'll leave that up for one more second. Oh, there's also chromatin, which is just like DNA. DNA and chromatin are the same thing. Chromatin is just DNA unraveled. So those are the organelles. You need to know what they look like and know what they do. Here it is again. You definitely want to know the nucleus. Controls access to the DNA. It protects and controls everything, really. You need to know the ER. It makes lipids if it's smooth, or it makes proteins if it's rough. You need to know the Golgi body or Golgi apparatus. Remember, that's the shipping things in and out of the cell. You need to know the mitochondria for sure. That's the powerhouse because it makes energy. It makes ATP for us. You need to know the chloroplasts for sure. Those are found only in plant cells, but they make sugar. They make food for plants. Lysosome, remember that's like the stomach of the cell. It does intracellular digestion. Vacuole is just the storage tank. That holds water, usually for plant cells, and a lot of little things for animal cells. And here's ribosomes. Remember, these help make the polypeptide chains, which are the beginnings of protein. And then the centriole, you already know that, kind of. Those are just used during where the cell splits. It's just an anchor for cytoskeletons. It kind of holds the cell together. Those are really only found in animal cells also. So again, for your organelles, know these. There's about 10 to 12 of them that you should know what they look like and what they do for sure. And then we looked at the plant and animal cells. Can anybody write down the two differences that a plant cell has that an animal cell does not have? What are those two organelles? Great job for those of you who are writing. Cell wall is one of them, and the chloroplast is the other. There is a third difference. The plant cell will have one big vacuole. The animal cell still has vacuoles, but they're smaller. So you can kind of count that as a difference, but your big two are chloroplast and cell wall. If you ever see those, you know it's a plant cell and not an animal cell. That's your big difference there, for sure. Everything else they pretty much have in common. All right, so then we got into 206 and 207, which are your last two. This is 207 about photosynthesis. Main things you need to know. You need to know it's done by only plants. You need to know it's done by this organelle here. What organelle is this huge picture of? What is that organelle? Good job, Joshua, Francesca, and Bailey, and Vincent. Good job. That's the chloroplast. That's the organelle that does photosynthesis. And there are three things that go into photosynthesis. 1, sunlight. 2, carbon dioxide. 3, water. So once those three things go in, two things are going to come out. We have oxygen, which is one product, and we also have glucose, which is another product. Now there are two parts, right? The light dependent, which has sunlight, because it's light dependent. Sunlight goes in, water goes in, and then oxygen comes out. And then you also have the light independent, which is also called the Calvin cycle. That's where you have carbon dioxide and water also going in. Glucose comes out of that one. So the two products, oxygen and glucose, oxygen comes out of light dependent. Glucose comes out of light independent. So main thing, you got to know that for sure. Done by only plants, done by the chloroplast of the plant. The three things that go in, sunlight, carbon dioxide, and water. Two things that come out, oxygen and glucose. Oxygen comes out of light-dependent cycle, and glucose comes out of the light-independent cycle. That's all you need to know right there. Cellular respiration. This is 2.06. You guys did a quiz on this one. This is done in 3 steps. Remember how photosynthesis is done in 2 steps? Well, cellular respiration is both plants and animals. It's done in the mitochondria, or the cytoplasm of the cell. 1/3 of it is done in the cytoplasm. 2/3 of it is done in the mitochondria. And yes, this is probably the 2 biggest lessons that you guys will have all year about photosynthesis and cellular respiration. The good news is the stuff that I told you is all the stuff you really need to know. So just take it one step at a time. So again, with cellular respiration, it's done by both plants and animals. That's the first thing. It's done in the mitochondria or the cytoplasm. That's the second thing. It's done in 3 steps: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. And we know the 2 things that go in are glucose and oxygen. The 3 things that come out are carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the form of ATP. So the good news is, guys, and I understand it is quite a bit of information, but if you can memorize one of the equations, you don't have to memorize both. If you just memorize one, all you have to do is flip the other one backwards, and you have it. So with cellular respiration, we know that glucose and oxygen go in, carbon dioxide, water, and energy go out. Well, then all you have to do is turn that backwards for photosynthesis. Carbon dioxide, water, and energy go in, and then glucose and energy are the 2 that come out. So here we are again, what I was just explaining to you guys. Another way to memorize it. This picture is perfect. Photosynthesis, right? Done by only plants. Done in the chloroplast of the plant. Cellular respiration. Done by plants and animals. Done in the mitochondria, or the cytoplasm of those plants and animals. Water, sunlight, and carbon dioxide go in. See? In. And the 2 things that come out are glucose and oxygen. They come out. But with cellular respiration, glucose and oxygen go in. And then your three things that come out are carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the form of ATP. So they're just backwards of each other. They kind of rely on each other. It's the opposite equation for each other. And that's why I made this slide here. This is it. This is your big overall picture of these two processes. This is what you need to know. And for sunlight, Emma, you just write energy. Energy from the sun. There's actually not a chemical formula for that. But there is for ATP, you just write ATP. Yep, or solar energy. So with photosynthesis, remember, plants only. This is both plants and animals. Photosynthesis, the organelle is the chloroplast. The organelle for cellular respiration is partly the cytoplasm, mostly the mitochondria. And look, carbon dioxide, water, energy goes in, glucose, oxygen out. Here, it's backwards, glucose, oxygen in, carbon dioxide, water, and energy in the form of ATP go out. This is done in two steps, light dependent and light independent. This one's done in three steps, glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and the electron transport chain. If you can memorize just this, and understand it, that's 85% of what you need to know with these two processes. The only other 15% to get onto it, just know what happens in this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one on the bottom. So even if you can just look at this right here and know this, that's, again, the majority of what you need to know. If you want to take it to the next level, look at those little 5 processes on the bottom, the 2 steps of photosynthesis and the 3 steps of cellular respiration. If you can know those 5 steps, then you know 100% of everything. You actually know as much as you need to know even in AP biology, if you can get into those. So that's where you need to be. And that's it, guys, for the whole biology thing. So just make sure, going back, know the properties of water, be able to explain at least 2 of them. Know the microscopes, the difference between them, like the questions that I asked you. Know the difference between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. Organelles, make sure you know what they look like and what they do. Plant and animal, know that plant cells have the chloroplast in the cell wall, animal cells do not. And photosynthesis, cellular respiration, pretty much memorize this slide right here. And you guys will be all set. Now for anatomy, so for biology, if you guys don't have any other questions, you are free to go. Before you go though, don't leave yet. I will not be doing a live lesson next week. Next week is my animal day at the STAR lab. So next week at this time I'll be there at DW Waters and I'll be bringing in some animals. I have a snake, I have a lizard, I have a couple of fish. Somebody else might be bringing in a mammal. I'm going to try to catch a frog. I'm going to try to catch a bird. So we're going to have a whole lot of animals on that day. So I hope you guys can get to go. It'll be somewhere between 12 and 2. That's where when I'll be there doing that. So, yep. So I'll see you guys then for biology. For anatomy, if you want to take a look at this for 1 minute and see if you have any questions about the DBA for anatomy. And the snake is super friendly. It hasn't bit anybody yet, so it should be good to go. It might be shedding though, but we'll see. All right, Joshua. Yep, I will be calling you soon. Bye-bye. So for those of you who are in anatomy, this is 201 right here. This is 202. And this down here is 203. And that's it for the anatomy DBA. It's pretty short because there's only 3 lessons, but you need to know, just the major muscle names and locations all around the body. 201, know about the 3 types of muscle tissue, and 202 with details about them, and then know how to explain the sliding filament theory for 203. And then, yes, any questions, go ahead, Bailey. And I will stop the recording as well. So thank you guys again for coming.